right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special Sports Kings NFL Week 1 preseason recap show. I'm your host, Mean Gene, and I am joined by the one, the only Dustin Pfeiffer. What's up, Dustin?
What's going on, Mean Gene? Can you believe it? Listen, we say this every year, right? These weeks fly by, but
Mhm.
week one preseason goes by really fast. We're heading into week two. Before we know it, real football is going to be here.
Real football is going to be here. Look, and this is the first time I think we've ever recapped. We are so excited.
That's right.
This is the first time we ever recapped NFL Week 1 preseason. But Dustin, I don't know about you. I was talking to someone earlier, and they just this. I don't know if it's because there's so much hype going into this upcoming NFL season, or people just really missed football.
Yeah. I think people just really miss football. I mean, we've said it all along, Gene. When is it going to be too much? But you put anything NFL on TV, it could just be the guys throwing out in the parking lot. I think somebody's going to watch it on TV. So
Well, look, man, and we're going to get into some of the things that took place in Week 1, including some kicks, some quarterback performances, you name
yeah,
it, injuries, which seems to be the saddest part of the preseason. But man, it was something else. Real quick here, folks. The show is brought to you by Tom's Watch Bar. Always, okay. In a couple of weeks here, in less than 2 weeks, Dustin, we will be at Tom's Watch Bar in Las Vegas, located inside the New York casino. And man, one thing the sports kings know about, and that's some Vegas, right? They know us out there in
that's
Vegas.
right. They know us. They know we're coming back again. That they missed us. We're ready to get back there. And listen, the last time we were out there, I just go back and think about all the shows, all the content we brought, and I think it's only going to be bigger and better this year.
It is, man. But look, okay. Look, I'm excited to be getting back out there in a couple of weeks, but I'll be damn 110 degrees. If they can just turn the heat down a little bit, Dustin. We were burning up out there, but I don't think we went outside like for a
No,
couple.
I was just about to say it doesn't bother me because I just don't go outside,
Yeah,
man.
you
Listen,
just don't go
just
outside.
keep me inside doing the shows, keep me at the sports book, keep me at a restaurant. I'll just stay inside and enjoy all that stuff out
We're
there.
just yeah, absolutely. All right, Dustin. Like I said, man, the
Yeah,
NFL preseason 2025 is here, and it's just normally we don't get that much hype. But look, 3 weeks of the NFL preseason. I mean, I think that's good. And Dustin, I don't know. Let's talk about this real quick because I just want to get your thoughts on. I know the NFL has been thinking about going to the 18 game season, which
yeah.
might reduce the preseason. But you know what? When it comes to injuries, man, you could go to no preseason games or a 19 game season. You're still gonna have those injuries, and I still think the preseason is important. I hope that you got to have at least 2 games, even if they get rid of the one. You got to
Yeah.
have it though.
Yeah, I think 2 games might be the balance. I mean, we definitely know 4 was too much. So scaling back to 3 is definitely a good thing. And you're right. Teams don't want to get hurt. They have, and the other thing is, Gene, they have these joint practices now that,
Hmm.
a lot of fans get to go to at training camp. And a lot of these teams are using those joint practices to get their reps in there
That's true.
and not even playing in the game. So that's the other thing you got to look at. That's why I think going down to 2 games can probably still be the right amount of games. You have to remember, we think about injuries, we think about the star players not playing, but we have to think about the flip side of it. What about these undrafted kids that are trying to make
Yeah.
a roster? These late round draft picks, like they gotta have time to get their reps in to make an impression on their coaching staff. But I think with joint practices, with 2 preseason games, I think you still can get enough reps in to make those decisions. So regardless of what they do, I think keeping 2 games is fine. I think that's the right spot for that preseason games.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and like you say, the injuries are happening, and the joint
Yeah,
practices they're happening, and
and
the
regular
and
practices.
the
Yeah,
regular practices,
yeah,
and then the games. But man, it just seems like a lot of emphasis, and not just to no name players. Man, we're talking about star players. We saw what happened with the right tackle for the Chargers. I mean, man, what a
yeah.
brutal injury, because you got a young rookie running back that was really looking forward to running behind that guy, and Omari and Hampton for the Chargers. So man, that's a big blow for the Chargers.
That's a massive blow that I'm sure we'll get into when we have our full show and our preview and divisions. But I think everybody had the Chargers as a team to really watch this season, and to have their star tackle go down like that is just a brutal way to start the season. Obviously, they can still be a good team, Jim Harbaugh year two, but when you lose one of your cornerstones on the offensive line like that, it's definitely a big adjustment for the team.
It is, and then of course we had another injury to one of the Detroit Lions,
Yeah.
Morris Norris, and you know that looked really bad, and it didn't turn out to be as bad as it looked. But anyway, man, it's just these are the things that happen, and unfortunately, the NFL does have that next man up mentality, but they don't forget about these guys that are getting hurt out there.
No, they don't. And again, these guys are out there trying to win jobs. A lot of these guys that you hear the names of, you're not really too familiar with. We saw Madison, one of the backup running backs that used to be from Minnesota, now down there in Miami, have a season-ending neck injury, and it's just you want to try to cut back the damage until the regular season, the injuries. But like you said, Gene, it could happen at any time. It could happen in a walkthrough at a practice. It could happen in a joint practice. So I really don't look at it as preseason being like, oh man, this is where the injuries happen. Once those guys get out on the field, whether it's regular practice or whatever, an injury could always happen.
That's true, and of course the Chargers tackle we mentioned is Rashawn Slater, who's out
Yeah.
for the year, and then you just mentioned, and I just got that word today about Madison. Man, I mean, look, he
Yeah.
was looking pretty good there, and this is a guy that's still a decent running back and was probably going to be used a lot,
Yeah.
and out for the year.
He was probably going to be the backup to A Chain because
Yeah.
they lost Mostert down there in Miami, so a tough blow. Somebody's going to have to step up. And anytime you hear neck injury when it comes to football, too, Gene, that's scary. So we hope everything is well with Madison, and hopefully he can continue his football career next year.
Yeah, and then of course, then we're still dealing with contract news, which should not surprise anyone. I mean, and I think one of the biggest ones here that's on my mind is, of course, one that impacting my own team, Dustin.
Yeah.
And Cam Haywood has decided. He said, "Hey, look, I'm willing to miss games till we get this thing done." And I think he sort of kept it really quiet during the T.J. Watt negotiations because he knew that was important as well. But I don't know. I mean, I think he's a veteran. It's part of the business, and just like Jerry Jones said with Micah Parsons, it's nothing for Steeler fans to lose any sleep over.
Yeah, I think it's part of the business. On the flip side, I will say, and again, he's a veteran, so missing this time I don't think is really going to hurt him as much, especially being with Pittsburgh as long as he's been there for. But this is why you say, Gene, is part of the business, because you mentioned it on last week's show. If you're the Steelers, you basically went as close to all in as you can go this year with Aaron Rodgers, paying TJ Watt, getting DK Metcalf. So I see no way they're going to not get this done with Hayward and have him miss games when the defense is going to be the anchor of that team.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, and they know that. And it's just like even with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, no news. I guess it could be good news or bad news. That's going to get done. If you're thinking, Michael Parsons is going to be traded anywhere, it's not going to happen. It's wishful thinking. I mean, things would just really have to go ugly for that to happen. But I don't think that's going to happen at all.
I mean, I say the same thing with all these guys. McLaurin and Washington too. Like, you're Washington. You've been pretty bad for the last decade, Gene, especially with ownership. You get new ownership. You get your franchise quarterback last year, who in his rookie season takes you to the NFC Championship. I know it's a business. I know you got to figure out the numbers, but there's no way that Washington, who is ascending, trying to better an NFC Championship season, is not going to have Terry McLaurin step on the field for them and help Jaden Daniels. Like, why would you go backwards like that after what you did last year?
Yeah, and the same thing with the Bengals and stuff. So, I mean, we can jump into this, and I think we there's some other breaking news. This is funny news. We was talking about this one right before we got on the air. I guess Myles Garrett was so excited about Shadir Sanders' performance that he just got in his car and decided to drive 100 miles. The next morning.
It was apparently after they landed back in Cleveland after the game here in Charlotte against the Panthers, where I am. So he gets back home. He gets cited for going 100 miles an hour in a 60-mile-an-hour zone. I believe, if I read correctly, and I hope I'm not getting this wrong, I believe it's his seventh speeding ticket.
Wow.
He's also had a previous Porsche that he used to have that he flipped over speeding. And when he did that, he promised the team and the city that, hey, I'm gonna slow this down and start taking care of this better. And then here he goes and gets another ticket. So I believe the beat writer Mary Kay, I believe she said that the team is aware, and it's a speeding ticket. So I'm not going to sit here and act like he did something crazy. But if you've had seven, you just want to make sure that
Yeah.
you're not endangering anybody, and again, not creating another distraction off the field that the team doesn't need.
Yeah,
And you
they
just
just
got a
don't need
big
it.
payday, right? I
Right, you
mean,
just got a big payday. You shouldn't. Yeah, look, I mean, I know they got to spend that money on something. Okay, I always wonder why these guys even drive. Okay, why don't they take the James Harden approach, who dresses up as someone who you can't recognize,
exactly.
and he takes the Uber everywhere he goes. So that's
It kind of blows my mind that these guys that have this money just don't have permanent drivers. You know what I mean?
But you like that privacy. I get it.
I get it.
There's times when you just want to look. You just can't sit there and look at that $300,000 car, man. You got to get in there and ride
I
that
get it.
damn
I
thing.
get
So
it.
look, shout out to Mary Kay Cabot, man. Mary Kay
Yes,
Cabot has been on this show. She was on this show years ago, man. When she has been a beat writer there with Cleveland.com for a long time. She does a hell of a job there.
legend. Yeah.
And when she says it, it's pretty much the truth.
And
Okay.
I can't name the award, Gene, because I just heard about it. But she got an award at the Hall of Fame weekend for some type of writers award.
Oh, she's good.
And she
She
was
is good.
I think she was the second woman in like the 50-year history of that award to get. So she has been around for a while. And you're right. When she reports it, you better take it to the bank.
It's the gospel. We have to find some sound bites, man.
Yeah,
She
and I have to find it. She even took a shot at Bill Belichick in her acceptance speech of the award, making a joke about
whoa,
Bill Belichick and his girlfriend just joking around when she used to cover him back in the day. So she's quick witted. I love
she's
reading
good.
her stuff.
She's really good. And I'm so grateful we had a chance to work with her back in the day. So, all right, Dustin, let's go ahead and get into week one
Yeah,
recap here of the preseason here, and so many storylines to talk about. Look, I didn't see all of the games, so the games. Let's just go ahead and talk about the big game. Okay, we'll talk about the big game, which and it was the Cleveland Browns and the
yeah,
Carolina Panthers. And I know me and you and Jacob, we were pretty much going back and forth with this. So look, I had said when we did our Thursday night show that Shadir Sanders would have to come out there and have like a Trey Lance like performance, and for the most part he did. I wasn't comfortable with him being put in that situation, but he got out there and he did pretty good.
he had a very good performance, and obviously me being here in Carolina and watching that game closely, I was impressed with what I saw because again, you don't know what to expect from him when he hasn't gotten those reps that we were talking about in practice. So to come out like that, to not have the full complement of starters probably playing with them, I think he made a very good impression. Now, against the Panthers' first team defense, they did have 3 drives that didn't amount to some points, but they did move the ball. But he played for what, all the way into the third quarter,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he made some. If you go back and watch those highlights, he made some throws that were tight window NFL throws. 2 of them for touchdowns, and
crazy.
one of them on the run. So very impressed with him. I don't know if you could ask for a much better performance when he's just getting out there getting his first action. I think it definitely goes to say, hey, this kid needs some more reps. I mean, we obviously know what Joe Flacco and his age, he's not going to play in the preseason. So
Hmm.
I think Shador should get a lot of these reps. Now, the funny thing about this, Gene, is I noticed on Twitter today, and it might have been Mary Kay Cabot or somebody from the Browns, they released their quarterback depth chart for week 2. They still had Shador Sanders at 4. And I'm just thinking to myself, I know you got Kenny Pickett. I know you drafted Dylan Gabriel over Shador,
Hmm.
but I think this guy's earned some reps and I know it's preseason, so depth charts don't matter.
Right,
But
right.
I mean, for him to be 4 right now after the performance he had, I know it's 1 week and we're talking preseason here. But if you're a Cleveland fan, you got to be very impressed with what he did in the
Hmm.
first week and say, we might have a steal here in the 6th round.
Hey, if even if you're not a Cleveland fan, and if you're a fan of the
It's
NFL,
exciting. Yeah.
and it's exciting. And here's the thing here. the Browns got themselves a pretty unique situation
Yeah.
because here you got to think, look, we all know that they are going to be facing dead money with Deshaun Watson next year. I
Yeah.
think he's guaranteed somewhat 50 something, 60
Yeah.
million. I mean, I'm not exactly sure of that figure, but I know it's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're not going. They don't want to give him that money, right? So they're looking at some dead money here. But you also got to be thinking about your future of your franchise. You know that Joe Flacco is not the future of your franchise. You know Deshaun Watson is not the future of your franchise. So your choices are Kenny Pickett, Shadir Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel.
And let's be honest, you probably know Kenny Pickett's not the face of your franchise. He could be serviceable, but I don't think anybody's looking at him going, "Hey, that could be our franchise QB of the future." So I think you're looking, like you said, at Sanders. Who knows with Gabriel? They drafted him before. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of him, so we'll have to see. But I think you have to walk away impressed. And honestly, again, we're not. Again, I want to. We should have this running at the bottom of the screen, Gene. It's preseason week 1, so don't sit here and take
Yeah,
our
yeah, it's
thoughts and
down
say,
there. It's
yeah,
week 1.
don't
Yes,
sit here and think we're
yes.
saying, "Oh, this is going to make this guy a superstar."
No.
We're just going off what we see after 1 week. And I think if your teams around the league like the Saints, I'm going to be honest with you, Gene, I'm not trying to bash on other teams, but if you're the Saints and you saw that performance in preseason week 1, you're probably thinking in the back of my head, should I have taken this guy earlier, at least second,
Yeah.
third round? You need a quarterback. Should I have taken a chance on him? And some of these teams might be having, some regret right now of saying, "Hey, maybe we should have drafted this guy."
Well, let me tell you what his performance did on Friday night was not only made things difficult for the Cleveland Browns, it has made things interesting for the NFL because 9 teams allegedly has reached out to the Browns for a possible trade. So if you're in the Browns, you could be in a good situation, but you still have to identify who the future of your franchise is going to be. If you want to use like Kevin Stefanski hasn't really made up his mind on what role Shadir Sanders is going to play in week 2 of the preseason, but you know you got to get Kenny Pickett out there, who's on his third team and going into his 3rd season. And we Gabriel, who is facing what is a hamstring injury, so who knows when he's going to get out there. So Sanders is in the driver's seat, and look, I mean, if the season started today, he would probably be number 2, right?
Yeah, and I think so, and I think Jacob, our partner made a good point on the show last week, is that we all know Flacco is probably going to start,
right.
but if you can get as many reps as you can for Shador in the preseason to see if he can be that number 2, then you kind of have that, you kind of get him that role. And then who knows? Flacco's, an old getting up there in age.
Mhm.
So obviously he's a serviceable starter, but if he goes down or he starts to struggle because he's in the decline, then you've got Shador in that number 2 role feeling comfortable to know, hey, I can come in and take over.
Yeah, you do. So, you know what? It's a interesting situation. This is why we're talking so much about the Browns.
Yeah,
because it's an interesting situation. So you got 6 quarterbacks in the house, right?
Yeah, because Huntley played the 4th quarter, so I mean, they brought him in. So, I have kind of broken down categories. We're going to talk here. We get through these last few minutes of the recap, but Shador Sanders was in my, I would call winner category of the week 1 of preseason. Again, it's preseason, but I don't think you could ask for a much better performance from a rookie out there in his first action.
Yeah, So we will continue to see. We got 2 more weeks to see what's going to happen there, and all eyes will be on Mary Kay Cabot and the Cleveland Browns because I'm sure she's going to let us know what's going on. Look, Dustin, there was some great games on this weekend, and let's just jump into the anything else from the Panthers though. I mean, what did you like about
Yeah, I will say I'm happy with what I saw. I mean, obviously the score 30-10, you look at it, but again, it's preseason. The Panthers' first string defense, I said, got 3 straight stops to start the game. Bryce Young, I think that's the biggest takeaway for the Panthers. I mean, the offense looked very good. Bryce Young was, I believe, 6 for 8 for a touchdown. First play of the game, he finds the rookie, T-Mac McMillan on a deep ball, and then he drives down the field and has a nice touchdown on the run to Jalen Coker. So, he had 2 drives. For second drive, let him down for a touchdown. And again, I say, I'm not just saying it because I'm here in Carolina, Gene. Bryce Young showed you at the end of the season that he's getting back to the Bryce Young that played at Alabama that warranted the #1 overall pick. And I think the sky could be the limit for this kid coming this season.
Well, I like, we talked last year when we did our countdown show on the fact that, when he got benched and he was replaced by the Red Rifle man.
Yeah, yeah,
It was just probably the best thing that ever happened to him because that thing could have went south,
yeah,
quick. He hung in there. He learned from a veteran, and he came back and it showed that he learned. So I mean
yeah,
that's it's going to be interesting to see. And I know it seems like the Buccaneers might have a somewhat of a chokehold on that NFC South for
yeah.
now, but it could change. And this is why they play the game, Dustin. So I
Absolutely.
like what I saw, and I like that the Panthers decided to stick with this kid.
Yeah, and now they're coming to your town this week. They'll be in Houston for some joint practices, and then they'll play the Texans on Saturday at 1 p.m.
Yeah, and I unfortunately won't be in town to see that because it would have been interesting to see on that with the Texans because I was not impressed with what I saw with the Texans with Minnesota.
Yeah.
But how about we talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Jacksonville Jaguars because we did talk about the AFC North and AFC South on our show last week. Look, Liam Cohen is now the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and man, for the first time, since I guess if anyone remembers way back in the day when guys played two-way football in the NFL, no one in my lifetime has ever seen that, right? So, but Travis Hunter did it, and they knew it was going to happen. It was pretty interesting. I mean, he just did it. It looked like it was nothing to him. He's been doing it all his career, right? So they got themselves a pretty good situation there, and overall, you can just see that this kid is really going to help the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I really said this last week. It's going to be one of the most fascinating storylines to watch in the NFL to see how they handle this, how much he goes both ways playing on offense and defense. And like we all said last week, we tend to all agree that it's going to be probably we don't think it's going to work to go full time both ways, offense and defense. Now, again, could there be packages here and there? But it'll be interesting to see how they use them because I honestly feel like in the way the depth chart looks, it looks like they're leaning more receiver. And then, and then we'll see what happens on defense. We'll want to get him out there, but I think you can kind of see the primary role as receiver. And he had a couple of catches the other night, looked pretty good. So that will be fascinating to watch and see what happens. And you just hope, if they are doing that and he is, getting a lot of snaps in, that he can stay healthy because we talked about the injuries here before the season even starts. It's a grind. And, that's a lot. Even though he did it in college, that's a lot on a rookie kid coming in. So, I wish him the best. And Jacksonville needs a boost like that. And I think he definitely will help them. So we'll see how that plays out going forward.
Yeah, you can definitely see why they moved up in the draft to get the guy. Yeah. And now that they got him in-house, they're going to have to take care of him and get it done. So real quick, we'll stay on the Jacksonville Jaguars because let me tell you, man, the preseason is the preseason. But look here, if you're Cam Little right now, you're thinking, damn, man, I need this record to count.
Okay, exactly.
Because look, I was looking at it, and it was what right before the half, right? So I'm thinking, okay, there's just no way that we've seen these. Look, I remember the time me and Denny Sharmer, we were covering the Raiders, and they were playing the Detroit Lions up there in the old Crapper Stadium in Oakland, California, right? And Sebastian,
that's my guy, my Florida State Seminole.
So Sebastian Janikowski. There was a moment where the game presented itself for him to kick a 65-yarder, and he didn't do it. So me and Denny, we caught up with him after the game in the locker room. Man, he's just sitting there like, man, I really wanted to kick that thing. You know what? Well, I mean, he's a rookie, right? What is he supposed to say, right? And so he didn't get it. He said, man, I could have made it. I could have made it. We, as we all know, he turned out to be a hell of a kicker for the Raiders. But this kid right here, a 70-yard field goal. And in a NFL preseason game, so no, it does not count, okay? But it damn sure looked good, Dustin.
It looked amazing. There's not many things in preseason that are going to make you go, wow. And when I saw that, I immediately sent that to y'all because I'm like, I know it's preseason, but I can't believe that happened because 60-yarders, and we know the record is Justin Tucker at 66, but it's just like, did that really just happen? And it's just crazy how the legs that are on these guys these days. And I think it needs to be said, a lot of the times you see these attempts, and if they make them these 65, 66 yarders, we're thinking, okay, it's in a dome. It's in Denver with the altitude where they can kick it a little further.
Right.
This was in Jacksonville, in the humidity, in the heat, right before the half, 70 yards. And it wasn't even like, it hit the crossbar and bounced over. It cleared it with ease.
Oh no, because the guy caught it in the back of the end zone. One of the ball guys, and it looked. They said that this guy is kicking 74-yarders in practice. So no one on the Jacksonville team was surprised, especially his coach Liam.
And it's not going to surprise me that maybe he might not make them, but I think now that sets it to say, hey, the coach knows, at the end of a half, at the end of a game, that they can attempt that and see what happens. I mean, just think about it, Gene. Fourth quarter, 2 minutes. You need to get in field goal range. Again, he's not going to make a 70-yarder every time, but there is a chance he can do it, and your quarterback doesn't have to get as far down the field to set him up for a field goal.
Well, those. Look here. So now, he's not going to kick a 70-yard all the time, but man, those 50s sure sounds like money.
Yeah, so the 60 sounds like easy work.
So let me tell you something. Since we talking about these field goals, right? So I decided to tweak something since I'm the commissioner of our fantasy football league.
Oh boy, here we go.
I gave more points to the kickers.
Okay,
and I did this before this happened. I did this just a couple of weeks ago. I said, I want to get the scoring up a little bit, right? So I said, so for 50 plus though, it's going to be a little bit more points. I can just say that much. It's going to be reasonable.
What about for 70 plus? Now that we're talking about that.
Oh yeah, I know I might have to think about it. So that's gonna look. I didn't change it to where you're gonna draft the kick in the first round. Okay.
I was just about to say you made that change, so you're taking a kicker with your first pick, right?
No. Okay. Look, I did that in my first fantasy football draft, and I was laughed out of the damn room. Okay. No longer do I do that.
What happened? Yeah, let's not do that again.
So anyway, that was pretty remarkable there.
Yeah.
And of course, on the Pittsburgh side, look, Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback. He didn't play in the preseason game versus Jacksonville, although he did say he wants to play. This is a different Aaron Rodgers from a couple of years ago who wanted no part of any preseason. I can't remember the last time he played in a preseason game. So he's trying to keep this honeymoon there in Pittsburgh where it needs to be. So he did tell Mike Tomlin that, he expects to play a couple of reps before, in the preseason, which is only two more weeks of this. But anyway, Mason Rudolph did look good. Mason Rudolph went down on the Jacksonville's first string defense. I think that was their first string defense. Maybe it wasn't. Yeah. It didn't matter, but he went down there with ease and scored. So
Skylar Thompson looked good too. So who knows? Maybe you got a couple quarterbacks back there.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's going to be in that order. I think Mason Rudolph,
he's earned it. He's been there for a while.
Yeah. So I think so. That was pretty good. So now it's just all about, just get Cam Haywood on board, and I think Pittsburgh looked okay. I mean, that game was pretty interesting. These games. Look, I don't know, Dustin, do you know of anyone who bet on the preseason games? Because good luck.
No, I think if you do, it's got to be on the point total. It can't be on the spread because
you don't know
who's going to play.
Going to be in there. You don't know what defense is going to score. I mean, the preseason games are crazy.
But I will say, you said, do you know of anybody that bets? And I don't necessarily, but you just said it. These NFL fans are wanting NFL. So people are out there betting on NFL preseason. Come on now,
because there's anything what you can do daily fantasy.
Yeah.
But good luck because there's 99 plus people on the damn team right now. Yeah. And only 40 spots are guaranteed pretty much right now. Everybody else is trying to, I can't wait till they get down to the 53-man cut. But man, there's going to be some great players that will not. Some of these guys you're seeing making big plays, you will never see them again.
Yeah. Well, let me go on while we got a couple of minutes here left because we're not going to make this a full-on show because this is just a quick recap. Let me go on a quick, a couple of winners and losers that I saw. Get your thoughts on
Okay.
real quick. How about again? It's week one of preseason, so we're not going to get too hyped. But how about the New York teams, Gene? How about the New York Jets with Justin Fields, who had a pretty good performance, and how
Mhm.
about the New York Giants, who had their rookie quarterback Jackson Dart? They still have Russell Wilson, who looked pretty good. They got Jameis, and then Abdul Carter for the Giants. So how about some optimism for these New York teams going into the season?
I like that. I like that. Look, I am a Justin Fields fan there. I just think the guy never got a break in
Yeah.
Chicago. I think, you know, and it's going to be ironically, he's going to play against the team that
Yes, he
released
is.
him on week one. And Aaron Rodgers is going to play against the team that released him. So that's going to be a
Yeah,
hell of a game.
that is.
And then, yes, you do have Russell Wilson up there. And I think Jackson Dart is in just a great situation. He's got two veteran quarterbacks there.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, he's probably going to be the future of that team. And yeah, so the New York teams might be back. We criticized him a lot when we were in Vegas, man.
Yeah.
They had some rough moments there in New York, but I think it's the post Daniel Jones era, it's the post
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers era.
And with the Jets, Aaron Glenn, new head coach, and
Hmm.
we know from coming from Detroit, they like to run the ball, they like to play physical, and when you have Justin Fields and Brees Hall in the backfield, the Jets' game plan should be to run the ball pretty much every time in the game and let their defense, help win the game. So some optimism I saw going on around there. Some other optimism. We kind of mentioned this briefly on the show as it was going on because the game was going on. Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow, 2 touchdowns. I mean, you get him out there for some snaps. Again, is trying to get off to a quick start. I don't think they could have asked for anything better than week one in preseason to see Burrow and Chase connect like that.
Yeah, that was. I mean, they came out there and they knew that they had to get off to a great start, and preseason or no preseason, they are determined to come out of the box, just firing at all cylinders there. And
Yeah.
the only thing they got to get done is get that linebacker signed, and then they'll
Yeah.
be okay.
Yeah. Now let me flip it to the disappointments of week one. And I have 3 teams on this list, Gene. And the first one, you may disagree with me, but the first one is the Chicago Bears. Because in my eyes, you got a brand new head coach in Ben Johnson. We
Mhm.
know he's got this high powered offense coming from Detroit, one of the best offensive minds in the league. But he's trying to get gelled with his young quarterback, Caleb Williams. But they don't play Caleb Williams in the first preseason game. They don't play their starting offensive line in the first preseason game. To me, and I know there's 3 weeks of preseason and it could happen in week 2, so maybe it's not. Maybe I'm making too big of a deal out of it. I just think I would have liked to seen Caleb Williams get a couple of series, in this new offense because this is a big year for Caleb
Mhm.
Williams because they got a new coach now. They brought in more weapons for him. They brought in offensive line. They brought in Joe Tooney, all those guys.
Mhm. Mhm.
I just would have liked to seen him out there for a couple of series to start the preseason.
Me too. And look, and I've been listening to a lot of his interviews over the last couple of weeks here on NFL Network and Sirius XM. He's been talking, so you can tell that there's a lot of communication. Him and Ben Johnson. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, I think there. But for the fan and for the media, we want to see this,
Yeah,
especially when you're bringing in a high powered, like you mentioned, a high powered offensive coordinator like Ben Johnson. So
yeah,
hopefully, we'll see it this week because I can't imagine with Caleb Williams being such a young quarterback still in this NFL that he needs as many reps as he can get. And if the
yeah,
Bears are going to be a special team in that NFC North, but I agree with you. I think we should see him this week for sure.
yeah. Absolutely. And my second team, I mentioned them earlier, is the New Orleans Saints. Gene, I just
Mm,
I mean, I'm not trying to. Again, I've been here in Carolina. We've been one of the worst teams for a while,
mhm.
but I just don't see how they're not one of the worst, if not the worst team in the NFL in the upcoming season. And they don't have a quarterback. You got, you drafted Shaw, you got Spencer Rattler, guys like that. But I just sit there in my mind and I think, I know Shador Sanders messed up probably draft interviews and different things
Mhm.
like that. But if you're that desperate to try to find your next franchise quarterback, you couldn't have took a shot on Shador Sanders in the second, third, fourth, fifth round. I just don't get the thinking behind that. And now they're going into a season with, I don't even know if they even have the quarterback who they think is going to be the future on their roster, they're probably going to be waiting for Arch Manning to come out of Texas to try to get him.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, Shaw did. I mean, he did good.
He did okay.
Better than Rattler. And look, the receivers. I mean, they threw the ball a lot. He put up. I think he had over 165 yards or something like that. So I mean, that's pretty good for him. Even though I don't know, since Sean Payton left that organization, there's been turnover. Just like we say, you keep bringing in different coaches. Dennis Johnson, not Dennis Johnson. What's his name?
Dennis Allen. Yeah,
Dennis Allen. He didn't hold down that job. So now, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I agree with you. They are probably going to be, and I know we haven't talked about the NFC South. We will in a couple of weeks. You can tell they're probably going to be at the bottom of the barrel.
It's a tough situation for a rookie head coach like Kellen Moore to come into to not really have a quarterback solidified. So my last loser, Gene, and Denny Sharma, if you're watching, whoever, this is not to bash on the Cowboys, okay, Gene? But the Cowboys are on my disappointment list, and two reasons. One, I don't know if you saw CeeDee Lamb get trucked on the sideline when he wasn't playing in the game. He got ran over by a referee. So that's just like, wow, what's happening? But I know it's business. We talked about it earlier with the Micah Parsons thing. It's just Jerry Jones. Like, what are you doing? Because I know Micah Parsons could get the deal done. He could be in there playing. But I just feel like you've kind of set your season back like 5 steps before we've even got there. There's no optimism around camp. There's no really lie. You know how it is about the Cowboys. It's usually all about, man, are they going to come back to the Super Bowl this year? Are they finally going to get over the hump? And now it's just kind of like, no Micah Parsons. Is that going to get done? It's hanging over our head. Does Jerry Jones want to sign players? And I just feel like you're doing your team and your roster a disservice, like to where you're putting them behind the 8 ball before the season even starts.
Well, look, the most positive thing that came out of the Cowboys preseason this weekend was Joe Milton. Okay, and
guy's got a cannon, cannon.
So that's a positive thing, and and Jerry's probably thinking, "Damn, man, I could have saved myself some millions if I just would have waited." You know how he thinks, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So you got a $60 million quarterback that you got to, you're looking at this Milton kid go out there and just tear it up. So I don't know. Dallas, look. I would think just like the Bengals, they know what they had to do. They getting their starters out there because they mean business this year. Dallas, look, you got 2 damn good teams in your division. Okay, you got to be careful that the third one, the Giants,
that's my point. Yeah,
don't get better. And if you end up in last place in the NFC East, oh my God, I don't know. And right now, you know better than third, right? Because you got the Commanders. I mean, the Eagles are the Eagles, and the Commanders are the Commanders. So everybody's thinking, I don't know.
And we could be sitting here week 1 and week 2, and it could all be behind us. Micah Parsons on the field. True. It's not just about Micah Parsons. What I'm trying to say, the overall picture is, you're putting too many distractions on your team as the season's getting ready to start. And you can say what you want, but that impacts the inside of a locker room going into a season.
Because you should look like what the Bengals did. They came out there and they, you could say, hey, man, we gelling. Okay, we just need to get, once we get Trey signed,
business. That's it. Yeah.
So Cowboys, like you said, going into the season with these distractions, man, you got like, come on, really again?
Yeah.
So, hey.
So that's kind of what I have for my winners and losers. Again, week 1's in the book. We're moving on to week 2. Games will be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm sure, again. So we'll have a full weekend of action.
Yeah, we have more thoughts and opinions on Shadir Sanders, and we'll see if Cam Little can go for an 80-yard. What the hell,
Why not?
And look, and one player and team that I'm going to be looking for in week 2 of the NFL preseason is Matthew Stafford. Hello, folks.
Man,
when are we going to? Matthew Stafford has not done anything with the Rams, and I don't know. We're going to talk about the NFC West here down the road. But man, I can't project where they're going to finish without knowing what the hell Stafford is going to do.
He was supposed to practice today, and he didn't. So, we'll see what happens. Adam Schefter said on ESPN this morning that if it were game time, he would play. But like you said, Gene, until you see him out there, you got to kind of wonder a little bit. And one quick other shout out I didn't give real quick, Gene. And this guy might go down as one of the quietest number one picks in NFL history because all the talk was about Shadur Sanders and other guys like that. But Cam Ward, he had a very good performance in his first game, and I think he's a guy to watch going forward.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Cam Ward. And how about Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones? There's a situation going on there in Indianapolis that needs to be looked at. So those are going to be some of the things I'm going to look at going into week 2 of the
I'm looking at some of the I'm looking at
preseason.
I'm looking at the schedule right now. That's why I'm looking to the side of my computer. But Browns and Eagles obviously will be a big one. We'll see if Jalen Hurts gets his first action. Shadur Sanders. We mentioned the Panthers coming down to the Texans. You know, like you said, Gene, you didn't really like what you saw from Houston. Will they bounce back in week 2 in preseason? You got Ravens, Cowboys. You know, will Dak Prescott get out there? So there's a lot of storylines in week 2 that Jets, Giants. How about that? New York.
Yeah.
Let's see those two teams we just talked about. So a lot of storylines heading into week 2.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So hey, folks, Dustin, this was pretty good. So I guess we'll come back. We this week, of course. Don't forget, we'll be back on this week for our AFC West and AFC East, because we just finished the AFC South and AFC North on our first NFL Weekly Countdown show. So we got to do all 8 divisions before the season starts, and then we got to pick our division winners and Super Bowl and all that great stuff, Dustin. So this week, make sure you stay tuned for the Sports Kings NFL Weekly show, countdown show, where we will be doing our prediction for the AFC West and the AFC East. So we'll be talking about the Jets and Dolphins and all of those guys.
I'm looking forward to it. And as always, as we end the show, Gene, listen, we're getting this YouTube thing going again. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us a like. We'll still be on our podcast platforms where you see it right there on the screen. We'll be on all of our platforms that you're used to with the podcast, but we really want to keep bringing you this YouTube stuff with the graphics and seeing our faces and having a good time. So make sure you check us out, subscribe, like, comment. We want the comments as well. So appreciate all the support so far, and we're getting ready to move on to next week, Gene.
And you know what? And speaking of comments here, and I look, and this is something we gotta get good with. Barbie's back in the house. He was here last week.
I see him.
And there he goes. He is going to promote those Raiders any chance he get, man. So thanks, Bobby.
The question is, Gene, will those Raiders comments keep coming when it's week 5, 6, 7, and the record's kind of I know. But what I'm saying is, if the Raiders start 2-6, 2-7, is the hype still going to be there?
Bobby's going to disappear on us.
Well, who knows? That's what we'll have to see.
All right, folks. Hey, look here. Just tell somebody. Hey, subscribe, like the show. We're gonna look. I guarantee you, we're going to be in mid-season form here by week 1 of the NFL season. So make sure you look for us on YouTube. The upcoming show is going to be this Thursday, and we will get into whatever preseason games are happening Thursday night. But we'll definitely be talking about the AFC East and the AFC West. So, Dustin, let's get on out of here, man. I think it's time to there's some WNBA on I want to watch. So we're going to get on out of here. All right, see ya.